They're just looking to play consistent, controlled League of Legends and those wins.
And what they are also playing is a respectful game against a man who knows his way around the Heimerdinger. That will be the first ban for the side of Phong Vũ Buffalo, keeping that out of the hands of Hjärnan, as Rakan and Kaisa, two of those prominent bottom lane picks, are going to be banned out by G2. And Phong Vũ says, you know what? One Tahm Kench game is enough Tahm Kench games for one day. Let's get that out of here, too.
And an interesting tactic from Wunder, banning away the bottom lane that lost them the game last time that they played against Phong Vũ Buffalo. Something that maybe isn't always advised, but I like the swinging tactic because if you think it is strong and yet you can't execute upon it, it is worthwhile getting rid of it.
Yeah, and now the question is, what is the priority for G2? Now, you would imagine they're not going to want to first pick a Camille if it's left open, and the expected final ban here from Phong Vũ will be an Aatrox, most likely. This will leave the Alistar open, and you would imagine that G2 would more than happily grab that one up forward.
And I love it. If you don't ban the Alistar, then you give Aatrox away. There's an Akali to be picked up. Once again, they can just go back into that patented open up the map, and it's none of them.
It's Camille instead. She's banned out, and the Aatrox is locked in for G2.
So Phong Vũ here are saying, you know what, we'll trade you. We're going to ban away your Camille, because we know you like to play it. We're going to give you the Aatrox, and we're going to take the Alistar instead. We want to make sure that Palette is on a playmaker, because the last time we beat you, we managed to shut down your bot lane. We managed to find a good couple of dives. We really put them far behind, and that gave us a lot of advantage throughout the rest of the game. So I think they can draft themselves a strong AD carry, and pair it up with the strongest support in the meta.
I believe it was a random Reddit thread where I read that Aatrox is the only champion remaining right now with 100% pick ban presence at Worlds 2018. The champ has definitely been making an impact in the top lane. We'll see what Wunder can do on him this time around. He's been doing so much work for G2 as the Xayah is locked in for Phong Vũ, and they might not even go for that Alistar. G2 might be able to grab that now for themselves as it's Olaf picked up.
That is very interesting, because look at the into the lock.
They're like, nope.
They're just like, okay, we'll take Alistar then. That's fine for Wadid.
Those LoL okay moments. Yeah. Emphasis on the int.
But we got to see the Zeros Jayce. Oh, the fabled Jayce that this man is known for within his region. This is something that he found so many solo kills on. Coming into it, we had a bit of a joke going that he runs Hex Flash on the champion, and I'm really excited to see what he can do on it, because it's Wunder on Aatrox. This guy has been a monster when he gets his hands on this champion, but Zeros, he's going for comfort and saying that he can match him.
Now, it's not guaranteed that it's Wunder on Aatrox. Just putting it out there, Perks has played one Aatrox game
That's true.
so far, and maybe Wunder wants to play Akali. I don't know. I just have to put that out there.
And I do think that if it is something like a Galio or a Sion in the mid lane, they actually will make that trade and they'll put Akali into the Jayce top lane. I don't think it would be that bad of a matchup. I do want to point out that whilst you can get excited about the uniqueness of the comp right now coming out of Phong Vũ, you do just have to sit back and admire the fact that arguably 3 of the strongest 5 champs on the patch are currently sitting on G2's side of the
That's
rift.
very true.
And it is also the style of game that they like to play. Yep. So I am optimistic, Vedius. However, that is backs against the wall.
G2 fans are looking at this draft and going, I am pleased. I am content with how this is going. But Phong Vũ Buffalo fans are probably looking at this and going, okay, Meliodas is on an early game playmaking jungler. We have an AD carry who, BigKoro, he has had some very solid performances. And when he beat G2, his great scoreline was off the back of this Xayah pick. So to me, it still feels like Phong Vũ are getting champions that they're comfortable with and they're more than happy to play.
And they are going to look to fight fire with fire, which I do like. They're going to throw a lot of attention top lane. You can also look to isolate Jayce in certain matchups as well. So I am excited to see whether that is, you know, the gauntlet. It's not going to be.
Wait a minute.
Is that, support Poppy?
Maybe. Or top Poppy has been proven to be good into the Aatrox matchup, does disrupt a lot of what he wants to bring, as well as the fact that every single champion right now on G2's lineup does have dashes, so if it gets to a team fight, Poppy will be very disruptive.
Now, in the EULCS, it was Vitality that would draft things like Poppy support as a kind of answer to Alistar, because of the shield that she can provide really mitigates a lot of his engaged tools, so that flexibility option is there, and you kind of automatically assume the Jayce is going top, but obviously it can be played mid, but for G2, they're just going to continue gearing towards what they've done so well. Plenty of wave clear on the AD carry. The Sivir can just sit mid lane later on. You have the Nocturne for the side lane ganks later on into the game. G2 have their staple 1-3-1, what they found so much success with in the first round run.
They got what they wanted from the draft, and for Phong Vũ Buffalo, it looks like the last pick is going to be LeBlanc, so that is support Poppy.
All right. This is pretty cool. I like the slight adaptation here from Phong Vu. Very aggressive, I think we can say. They too have drafted very solid side lane champions. The LeBlanc can often hold her own against the Akali, especially during the laning phase. Jayce, if he's able to get a lead. I'll be honest, I haven't really seen this matchup, but I've been told by many pro top laners that Jayce is one of the best 1v1 champions in the game. So I feel like that if Phong Vu can find that early game advantage, just like they did last time by punishing Jankos, then maybe they can get the 1-3-1 themselves going.
Yeah, and I think that they have a better early game top side of the map because LeBlanc is very good levels 1 to 3, is able to exert a lot of pressure onto Akali. Olaf farms very quickly as opposed to the Nocturne, who's probably going to want to get to that level 6 mark. So if Meliodas can control once again the Nocturne pick, if there is more battle warding coming out, then this is a top side that I can see getting ahead. And when two comps want to do the same thing, Vedius, it is generally whoever gets the first advantage that snowballs the game.
Yep.
All right, quick update for everybody as we are loading into the game. It seems like we will have a slight delay at game start. One of the hand warmers exploded, and we're waiting on that to be taken care of. So sometimes your hands get kept a little bit too warm.
It saw this draft and thought, nope, this is too hot for me, and it got out of here. It couldn't handle the pressure.
The hand warmer tried to Q dodge, but it wasn't able to do it in time, and now we're playing through it anyway.
Oh, it literally exploded.
I said the word, Vedius.
So when they say that, I thought my producer was just being a little, you know, like... what?
Dramatic?
Dramatic, but no, poof.
Into dust. Well, once they get that one cleaned up, we will be getting into Summoner's Rift, and hopefully that's not going to be the only thing that's explosive on Summoner's Rift this time around. Aatrox versus Jayce. You guys already talked about that matchup with Aatrox being such a strong champion throughout this tournament so far. Jayce being considered a very powerful top laner in his own right. And it's not just the champs, it's the pilots behind them. These guys can be monsters for their squad.
And that's what I want to say. Yamato gave out some words of wisdom. When you're going up against these group stage opponents, they don't have all that much time to prep. Just play your style. And I like the fact that Phong Vu has gone back to what made them successful. Some niche picks in what is going to be a rather standard play out of this game is very exciting to see.
And let's remember stakes for this game, because the Flash Wars lost earlier in the day. A win for G2 eSports means that they take first place in the group, and they will be tied against Phong Vũ Buffalo in terms of the head-to-head. If Phong Vu win, everyone in the group goes to 2-2, and Phong Vu actually have a 2-0 record over G2 eSports, which really makes the group very exciting, but also makes it so much harder for G2 to get out of this group.
If this all goes to 2-2 across the board, the second half of the day will be absolutely crazy in terms of deciding who's going to get out, what's going to happen there. As we are loading on to Summoner's Rift now, hand warmers are no longer an issue. And it's time for game number 2 of the day. G2 eSports in the blue corner, Phong Vũ Buffalo in the red. Let's see how they decide to play this one out. We talked about G2 seemingly getting everything they wanted from the draft, but we'll see if Phong Vu are able to shut that down.
And Sport, I want to talk about where are we thinking junglers are going to go in the early game, because naturally Olaf, we've seen how powerful he is at the early levels. Do we think that he just tries to get an early level 2, early level 3, and then immediately straight to top? Or do we think that maybe mid is a better option to try and shut down first?
When you're an Olaf, it is always tempting to go to the longer lanes just because of the fact that you have the ability, if the first axe lands, to either force the flash or continue to chase down.
Yeah.
But I do think that they need to control the area around the mid lane and allow Naul to go to work. If he's able to look for the solo kills in the same way that Jensen was, LeBlanc one of the best answers to Akali because you can lock her down in the Shroud, then this becomes a very hard to execute comp on the side of G2.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think playing towards the top side is definitely a little easier for Meliodas because Akali, with her Shroud, so obnoxious to gank. Even with the Undertows being area of effect, they can still hit you through the Shroud. It's still difficult to lock that Akali down, especially with hormone mobility. So try and get the Jayce ahead, get him a slight lead, utilize that range advantage that you will have over the Aatrox. And I'm curious as to how this matchup will play out because I'm honestly not familiar with it. We don't really get that many Jayces in Europe, and it's not really a matchup that we've seen yet here at the World Championship, but Zeros very comfortable on this champion.
We get Jayces sometimes in North America, but
I've heard about
don't
those.
like to talk about them. So maybe we'll get to see something flashy out of Zeros here in this game. But man, both these solo lanes are so volatile both ways. Somebody can take over the game very easily with a good enough start as Wadid walks into the brush. Pallet finding a good stun there onto Hjärnan against the wall. Can't stand right next to a wall against Poppy like that. definitely not a good idea.
And the thing to remember about Poppy's support is she offers a lot in terms of utility. You just saw that she has that knockback as well. That provides additional peel for your AD carry. But her shield does interrupt dashes as well, which is great against champions like Akali, Aatrox, and the Alistar. But on top of that, her ultimate is fantastic for disengaging any awkward situation. So imagine a Nocturne dives onto your champion, the backline then gets knocked away. That Nocturne is now left on an island against 2, 3, 4 members of Phong Vũ Buffalo that will just immediately turn and shut him down.
Also has relatively high base damage, so you can gank for it. You can see Ignite's going to be picked up here. This is a champion that, you know, is very tanky in the early game, can set up turret dives, and Meliodas already doing a fantastic job of controlling the experience of this Nocturne. Jankos not able to get 2 camps on the top side of his jungle, so we'll see whether this is a continued effort to now pass towards bottom lane.
Null getting the better of Perks here in the mid lane during the initial part of the laning phase. Takes him down about 1/3 of the HP overall. Still over half remaining though, so Perks still feeling comfortable enough to just keep the farm up. Remember, for Akali, it's all about getting to that level 9 so you can have the extra wave clear potential in the 5-point strike and just continue farming up there safely against the LeBlanc. But Null's going to shove that wave in.
And it is an issue of survival right now for Perks. He's going to allow himself to get pushed in. He's going to look for some pressure off some bounces, but there are going to be windows for PVB's mid laner to be able to rotate around the map. Once level 6 is achieved for Perks, if he has that Ignite up, he has legitimate kill.
Yeah, that's really important to remember. This is much more of a skill matchup. Same can be said at the top once those ultimates are completed. For Wunder, the lane gets much easier because of his potential to dive on top of that relatively squishy Jayce and look for an execute. And you know, we talk about, in terms of the 1-3-1, when a lane gets ahead, that's really, when either comp really gets ahead, that's when they can start to snowball this out of control. But I look at this Akali, and if she ever has the opportunity to go up against this squishy Jayce, she has a surprising amount of kill threat.
And here's Meliodas into the mid lane, recognizing the fact that the Shroud is down. That's his chance to go. Good timing there. It means Perks has to blow flat.
And you can see Jankos is in the area. It's not like he's all that late to the play, but just the pressure that Olaf puts on at this stage of the game buys the flash.
And here's the Olaf special, ladies and gentlemen. 4 minutes, solo Drake right into the pit. He goes, has a control ward to make sure nobody's got eyes on him, and he'll likely pick that one up for his team. As topside, it's Jankos looking to make the moves here onto Xerath, who flashes out of the way to escape both the chains and the Nocturne. Gets back to safety.
So that's a nice response gank out of Jankos. He knows that the Olaf exited bottom side of the map, knows probably looking for an early dragon, so he does use some of that advantage on the top side to be able to buy the summoner spell. We mentioned that Wunder probably wants to survive the start of this laning phase. Well, a flash burnt on Xerath only makes that easier.
It certainly does, and you'll note if we look across the farm that Hjärnan and Wadid struggling in terms of the 2v2. Xayah exerting her early game pressure, along with the Poppy, does make it difficult for Wadid and Hjärnan to really get much control over this lane, but this is the position they regularly get put in. They don't often get winning 2 versus 2. They have to play on the defensive, and I feel like this is a skill that they've kind of refined across the World Championship.
Enough practice, you can get yourself good at a lot of different things, even if it's playing on the back foot, as mid lane Perks is going to back himself up before hitting level 6. Goes back to base, he'll try to shop up a little bit. Top side, 1 versus 1, breaking out here yet again.
Oh!
Xerath just smacking Wunder around.
Yeah, it certainly did. Big winning trade there. Also lands the accelerated shock blast across the map right now. Meliodas also has control of Jankos' jungle, and they're kind of just losing 3 lanes right now on the side of G2, so need to be very aware that if they don't get any advantages at this level 6 spike, it might be a hard early game.
And remember, the first time these 2 teams played, when Phong Vũ Buffalo did take down G2, they took over the game at 9 minutes. That's when you saw the gold lead really start to go in their favor, and it never went back. G2 never regained control over that game after Phong Vũ had a strong early game. So far, 6 minutes in, even though they have no kills, just the natural lane advantages they're finding for themselves bring them up plus 700 gold.
For G2, you know, you talked about it, Spawn. They're behind in terms of this early game. This is not the expectation that you have when you look at this G2 squad and they get a composition that they're really comfortable with, something that they're used to playing, but now Perks, he's hunting for Xerath.
Seeing if he can go after this guy who had to blow the flash earlier to get away from the previous gank. Xerath's going to knock him away, still trying to get himself out of this one. Wunder uses the ultimate to try to catch up, but won't be able to.
I'm surprised Perks didn't try to dive that. He had the second proc of his ulti. Xerath had no flash. I really feel like he could have killed him.
Yeah, I think he could have as well. However, you also have to remember that at that stage, PerkZ also has no flash. They don't know exactly where the Olaf is. I don't think they caught him on vision there. So if he is coming from base, potentially there is the turnaround gank available. You don't want to give anything away.
Also want to point out the fact that PerkZ does have Mercury Treads completed, plus a longsword at that first buy. Normally you see Akali's go for rushing the Gunblade because it's such a big item on the champion, but he's paying a lot of respect to his lane opponent in Naul. So the damage wasn't quite as high as it could have normally been. Maybe that caused him to back away. Can't be too sure.
And Akali is one of those hybrid champs that you can actually pick Hexdrinker up. And a lot of the time in this matchup, in solo queue, I've actually seen a lot of pro players go for their Hexdrinker to just eliminate the burst damage. In saying that, as there's no other magic damage on the comp, but there is still CC, in this situation, I think the Merc Treads make a lot of sense, just buffing up that base MR.
Yeah, for sure. I think he's just, as Captain Flower said, showing a lot of respect, but who I have a lot of respect for right now is Meliodas, going up against Jankos. The last time these two junglers met, it was Jankos who made a lot of poor individual mistakes, but by going for the Olaf, taking this pick away from Jankos and almost expecting the Nocturne to come through, given that it synergizes so nicely with the 1-3-1 that G2 have drafted for themselves. Meliodas has had full control over the early game. Look at the CS differential. Look at the level difference between the two junglers. Just compare the impact. Meliodas has been denying Jankos farm. He's found an early gank into mid, but now Jankos might be able to turn that around.
That's what it's all about. Can he unlock the solo laners? Because it took him a little bit longer than you would have liked, but they go in now.
Here we go. Jankos looking to make that play, and it's just instantly turned into nothing. Man, you hate to see that for G2. They really need to get value out of those Nocturne ultimates, and that is just literally nothing.
But when you play these comps, it's so important to understand where the play is. Naul in the mid lane has the distortion, has the ultimate, has the flash. He's not going to be the target. Bottom lane, you know they don't play through Hjärnan and Wadid. So Zeros understands that he is the area of the map that right now Nocturne will look to attack and nullifies that first ultimate.
I really think that was very smart from Zeros. Such good awareness. You could see how far back in the lane he was playing. Just trying to use his range, and he ran back to the tower. He didn't need his flash, and he was able to avoid that gank completely. And now the ult is unavailable for Jankos. He loses more control over his jungle. Meliodas continues to invade, drop deep vision, and Naul looking for a pick.
A couple minutes ago, Spawn, you said it feels like G2 has 3 losing lanes. Well, along with the losing lanes, their jungler's down almost 25 CS because Jankos just hasn't been able to make the play. It didn't go out very well for him there. Meliodas has just been farming up his jungle and his opponent's jungle and the Drake. He's making things happen. PerkZ finding the better of Naul there, taking him down below half HP in the mid lane, and they'll just continue shoving these things out. But man, G2 is going to have to recover from this early game because they are down about 1,000 gold, and Phong Vu's been having that good early game.
They certainly have, but now it becomes, can they maintain it into the mid game? Wunder and PerkZ, proven players on the world stage so far, have looked very good at that stage of the map. You could see that if they had Ignite available there, that would have been the all-in into Naul. And this matchup is starting to swing back in PerkZ's favor.
And I do think that while we are commenting a lot on how PVB are playing this early game, the important factor that we have to remember is that if this stays even moving into the mid game, the Nocturne will be the biggest swing factor between the two teams, just because of how easy it is for him to join into one of these side lanes and look for a gank. And you compare that, the wave clear between the AD carries when they get positioned in this mid lane, there's no way you're going to siege onto this Sivir.
In saying that, there is always a potential for Poppy to knock you off a turret, force
Very
around
true.
jungle choke points if you don't have the vision. And right now, what they're showing me is that Phong Vu understand how to play this composition. They understand how to play towards their lanes, so they're giving me hope for that mid game, for the ability to force around objectives and generate more than an 1,000 gold lead.
Absolutely. Phong Vũ Buffalo having a good early game for themselves, and you can see G2 hasn't exactly been a big early game team so far in the 2018 group stage. 0% first blood, 0.3 kills at 15 minutes.
Heading
0
top.
turrets, but it looks like they're going to try to make a play here onto Zeros, using the flash to get himself out. You're still seeing PerkZ come up around on this when he wants to make the dive. Remember, Akali is so damn good at this thanks to the Shroud. Damage coming down there, Ignite going to be used. PerkZ still going to be tanking some damage. The turret shot's going out there. First blood goes over to PerkZ, but it will be a 1-for-1.
Exactly that, and PVB gain a Drake off the back, and now they're going for Hjärnan.
They know that the enemy mid laner's out of the picture, but Hjärnan pops the ulti to get himself away. However, important to note, Phong Vũ Buffalo get their second elemental Drake of the game, and it is Infernal.
And they just have control over everything. Sure, in the top lane, you would love for Zeros to survive after using that flash, but the 1-for-1 trade is very nice for the top laner. The ability to trade cross-map and generate some more pressure for yourself. Put them on that clock with that Infernal Drake is so important.
And again, look at the difference between the junglers. Meliodas now 2 levels above Jankos. The red buff is primed and ready for the taking because Naul, there's no one that he has to worry about. No one is in his lane that threatens him because PerkZ just died towards the top side of the map.
And he doesn't even get to clear hle's Raptor camp. There's a small Raptor still available. Everything going against Jankos right now.
So this is where Wunder starts things up in the top side. Zeros uses all of his abilities to clear out the wave. He doesn't see Wunder sneak in from behind, and he just gets the flash out from Zeros. Now, PerkZ here, I just feel like he mismanages his use of the Shroud because he ends up taking every single tower shot.
He also missed the first charge of the ultimate and didn't want to use the second charge to dash out a turret range.
Oh.
Thought he would fall down. So no mini stun, no damage, no second part of the ultimate means that that was actually a PerkZ solo kill with no ultimate use.
Wow, all right.
Well, both good and bad stuff there, I guess. Shows he has plenty of damage potential, but also shows he needs to aim a little bit straighter if he wants to make sure he can get those kills without paying for it next time. Still no Gunblade completed either.
Certainly isn't. However, as there's a little bit of a skirmish in the mid lane, love the swap from PVB into the top side of the map. They know that there is no objective for 6 minutes for them to be able to claim. They've got so much of a speed advantage through their jungle matchup that they're now using that to take a Rift Herald. They haven't been able to hit a turret because of the wave clear. Rift Herald might just break open this map.
I love the way PVB are playing this early game. Meliodas has been on form. They steal away another buff from Jankos, and now they're looking to take down that top turret.
This is oppressive.
Was that intended? Was Meliodas trying to use the trinket, or did he mean to summon Shelly?
No, I think he meant to do this. He definitely meant to do this. He did it from behind, so they still have a minion wave, and now if they want to, they can continue to pressure.
I'm just making sure. I've seen a lot of solo Q Shellys. Accidentally summoned in the deepest, darkest depths of the jungle when somebody just meant to throw down a trinket ward. I had to be certain, gentlemen. As we are going to see Phong Vũ Buffalo grab that first turret of the game, along with the 2 elemental drakes, along with Shelly. They are just completely taking over every single objective on the Rift.
And once again, this is to force the whole group to 2-2 and put PVB up in the head-to-head. The Buffaloes right now are just exerting their will on the game. There is no trade back for G2 to go for. Naul, however, doesn't go over aggressive.
Yeah.
The patience, the dedication to the plan.
He also sees Wadid, and he's like, no.
Yeah.
Not going to take that gamble. And I don't think he needs to. He's got a level up on PerkZ right now. You can see he's built up nearly a 30 CS advantage. He's slowly chipping away this mid-tier 1, and I am just really impressed. You know, we looked at this draft and we were like, PVB, you're giving G2 all these strong champions. This is exactly how they like to play. And PVB just said, well, you know what? We'll draft stronger champions, we'll play to their style, and so far the early game has gone fantastically for PVB.
And more importantly, we will draft our champions. We're going to take the Jayce. We'll take the skill matchup. We're not scared of you. We will play the game on our terms and just show that at the same style, we are the better team.
If anybody wants a moral of the story for World's group stage so far, it's follow your heart. Play your game. Pick your champs. Play the game that you want to play the game. Play the game the way you want to play the game, I should say, and make sure that you are not just surrendering to your opponent's style and trying to lose less. Play to win, and that's what Phong Vũ Buffalo is doing right now, and that's why they've got a 2,500 gold lead.
It's so great to hear you say that, Captain Flowers. I will keep playing Nocturne mid. I will get to Challenger with it.
Good.
I just have to believe in myself.
I played Chad Skarner to Diamond 1. Follow your heart, Vedius.
Anything is possible if you just believe in yourself, Flowers. Now, we have got a quick pause. We will update you when we have more information. But in terms of the state of the game, we're 15 minutes in. G2 eSports are 2.3k gold down against PVB.
That means they're now averaging 1,000 gold down per each hand warmer that has exploded. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. A second hand warmer has apparently met a nasty demise here on stage, and hopefully we can get that one cleaned up. Apparently these things are just not doing their job today.
They're popping off at the moment.
That's a very good way to put it.
But I do want to just, once again, applaud how Phong Vũ Buffalo has played this game. There is a 50 CS lead generated in the jungle right now for Meliodas. That is such a huge advantage. Nocturne, once he gets the jungle item in the Warrior as well as level 9 on the Dustbringer. He flies around the jungle. Well, he has not been allowed to get to that state of game at his own pace whatsoever. It has been a team effort, but shutting down a veteran like Jankos is not easy, and this is the second game that they've been able to execute on that game plan.
I mean, Nocturne, as the game goes on, as he gets strong, as he farms up, grabs those kills in that gold, he becomes this dive bomber that goes into the enemy back lines and really threatens those AD carries, but Jankos is looking more like a paper airplane right now. You're going to throw him at somebody, he's going to doink against the wall and fall down. He's got no lead. He's got himself not in a spot where he can do a whole lot of anything, and the ultimates haven't really brought the team anything to work with either.
And we questioned the priority in the draft. They took this Olaf over something like an Alistar that had such a high presence that we thought was the most impactful support in their game, but they had the answer to that in the Poppy. They changed their priority, and so far it's worked a treat.
It certainly has. I've been really impressed with how PVB are playing, and again, the stakes matter so much here. Remember that PVB already have a win over G2 eSports, so if they find another one, there will be 2-0 in terms of the head-to-head. They will own it, and should a tiebreaker come about in this very close group, it will PVB that will take that spot over G2 eSports. So this game, very important for G2 if they still want to stand a chance of securing top spot in the group.
And for Phong Vũ Buffalo, representative from the VCS, from the Vietnam region, this is a region that just doesn't fail to impress at international events. Even coming into this, when we talked about Phong Vũ and how it's like, yeah, they play a much more standard style of League of Legends, standard meaning what you would expect in terms of lane strong, transition into a mid game, take objectives, close the game, as opposed to the Gigabyte Marine style of everything goes to Nocturne, gank bottom lane at level 6, 4 minutes into the game, this completely off the wall stuff. Phong Vũ is much more what you would expect, but they're doing it in a way that works to their strengths. They're doing it in a way that is tailored to their players, and that way puts them up in an advantage over G2. And it's really interesting to me that G2 was able to take down the two teams in this group, in the Flash Wolves and the Afrika Freaks, that when most people would look at Group A, they would say, those are probably the two stronger teams between those three. And then against Phong Vũ Buffalo, it just seems like they found their kryptonite.
It does certainly look like it. Well, as you guys can see, Wadid has returned to stage. He washed his hands, and now he's primed and ready to play. He and his bot laner, Hjärnan, are just making sure that everything is good to go, and then we will likely return to some great League of Legends. And again, as you can see in the recap at your bottom of your screen, right now, kills are very even. Tower slight advantage for PVB. They hold on to the gold lead, thanks to how well, particular their top and mid have been doing, but also the jungler for Meliodas.
Yeah, absolutely. 50 CS for Meliodas. He's grabbed every neutral objective on the map. He's got himself a Mountain Drake, an Infernal Drake. He went top, picked up Shelly, grabbed the first turret for his team as well. This guy has been exactly where PvP needs him to be. And Olaf right now is sitting very large. He's got himself a Phage going more towards that damage route. I want to see if he can continue this into the mid game, because Olaf is one of those champions that we say falls off, does become a little bit more of a squishy brawler, but it's not really going to be a 5v5 team fight that they need to worry about.
And as we get further in the mid-game, I mean, we're 15 minutes, a little bit past it into the game now, and we are going to be loading back in just a moment, but after you crest that 15-minute point, a lot of people consider that to be where you are distinctly now into the mid-game from the early game, and that means bigger fights. That means more than just skirmishes, and I'm waiting to see who's going to play those fights better. Can Phong Vũ utilize this advantage they've already built and turn it into something much greater? Right now, they're turning it into a bottom lane war.
But I don't know if they even need to fight. If they continue to do this, shove out lanes, group up, take down turrets, they then can do exactly what we saw out of the Afrika Freaks, set up the full core press, ward out jungles, be first to the play, and just clear out waves quicker, stifle that gold to a situation where even if G2 want to fight, they just don't have the tools to be able to do so.
G2 are just falling back from the bottom lane now after PVB put on the pressure. PerkZ is going to be shoving out the top side there. G2 now down 2 turrets, means they're down almost 3,000 gold. PerkZ would love to equalize a little bit of that. Phong Vũ is still going to hang around this bottom side. They've got their jungler shadowing that bot lane, just in case.
And more importantly, they've cut off all the quick rotations towards mid. So whilst they are trading turrets, they just value the mid lane outer turret much higher than what they value the top lane turret, and they will be able to destroy that outer ring. How they can start pressing into the jungle.
I mean, Baron's not even alive yet. He's not alive for another 3 minutes. Shelly's already been taken. The top lane tier 1 doesn't mean a whole lot. Into the mid lane now, the fight's gonna be breaking out. Pallets absorbing the blows for now. Wadid having to flash himself away as the hammer's being spun. Wunder's gonna get himself away from that one, but they still lose the tier 2 in the mid lane, and Hjärnan falls.
PVB find not only the tier 2 tower, but a kill onto Hjärnan. Both his summoner spells are gone, and they've extended their gold lead to 4K. This is some fantastic League of Legends from PVB, punishing the fact that G2 are too split apart on the map. They don't have pressure anywhere, and again, G2 are falling down to PVB.
Take another look at it. That's a very nice tackle as well as the shield going up, and it is just an ignite. You can see that he used the heal a little bit too late there, wasn't able to save his life, but they just absorb the pressure. They counter-attack. They're not going on the front foot, but they're just denying so much. And you can see G2 starting to get desperate now, looking to attack the top side of the map.
I'm glad we had that Acer Predator replay to show me exactly how Hjärnan died, because I did not see where he went down in that fight. Azero's going to be in some trouble now, trying to get himself away from the collapse coming out from G2. PerkZ blowing the flash. Play. Jankos ends up picking up the kill credit there.
And the wall just a little bit too fat means that he does fall down. No ultimate from Jankos means he didn't join the fight until the end, but still they trade it for an Infernal Dragon. PvP still has much more priority on the map.
And Meliodas, he can immediately convert this into a red buff steal once again, because look at the vision coming out to the bot side of the map. Yes, Zeros, he made a bit of a mistake there. He overextended top side. That's not where his team had the vision. You have to respect Nocturne, who, while he didn't have his ultimate, was able to just join the rest of the team. Pallet steals away the red buff.
Smooth criminal in and out. Not anything else to say about it. Grabs that buff away.
And look at Meliodas. He just pops a Predator, heads to the top side of the map, going to deny another jungle camp. This time it's going to be the blue buff for himself or his mid laner. This is just insufferable League of Legends. This is frustrating League of Legends. If you're a G2 right now, you can do nothing. This team is just unrelenting in their pressure.
And we talked about how at the beginning of the day, a freak of freaks seemed to have come up with a strategy to shut down flash walls, and that was, let's play 1-3-1. Flash walls, they don't know how to deal with it. PVB then come into the day and go, okay, we have to beat G2. They're really good at 1-3-1. How do we beat it? Let's play better 1-3-1. And that's exactly what they're doing. And as you mentioned earlier, Spawn, with their own comfort picks. The LeBlanc for Naul, the Jayce for Zeros, and the Olaf for Meliodas are all working out so beautifully for PvP.
But let's talk about what that does to mentality. This is your best comp if you're G2. You're sitting here in the first game of the day on which you could get eliminated, and you're getting beat up. You can see that right now they're looking for one of those counterattacks, but they've just been so few and far between. You have to play another 2 games after this.
And Shroud already popped. Means PerkZ can't go in and keep himself safe if he wants to make that dive happen. He's got to back away. Phong Vũ recognized they take down the tier 2. This is a 5 turret to 1 lead. This is 4,500 gold up. That will shrink a little bit now, going back down towards 4K with Wunder taking the turret in the bottom side, but it's still a very good game for Phong Vũ.
But once again, this is a 4 damage comp with double Infernal Drakes. Even if you ignore the gold lead, which you can argue can be equalized with some good macro play, you can never get those dragons back. And they do now have control over the top side of the map. Baron is about to become up and available. They will melt through it so quickly at this stage of the game. G2 need to be very aware of what Phong Vũ can do.
Yes, they do. That's why Wadid now moving up, trying to reclaim some vision control. He has PerkZ with him. Some fancy footwork there on the Akali. But now what options do G2 have? We talked about how later on into the game, the Nocturne will be pivotal in trying to find these picks in the side lane, but know what PvB are doing. They're not actually playing 1-3-1. They're pushing in a lane, and then they're grouping as 4. This means that with the limited wave clear that G2 have, and because they're getting to the tower late, they can't utilize the Sivir wave clear, and there's no option for G2 to actually try and force a fight.
That is a 3,000 gold lead in the jungle, 2,500-ish. That is monstrous right now. That is supposed to be a damage-dealing Nocturne that has been completely shut down.
He's 2 camps away from having his CS doubled as we reach another pause. Please don't be a hand warmer.
Hand warmer, calling it.
All right, we're going to see what it ends up being. I'll get information in my ear soon, I'm very sure. But one thing I also want to bring up now as we get into the pause, talking about what's happening here. We do know that Jankos paused. That's about it for now. But looking at the way G2 has won games so far, a lot of it has been heavy muscles from Wunder. This guy has made things happen in the side lanes. He's scaled up on champions that are able to fight against tanks, and then he's pulverized some meatballs. This time around, That's not an option. Because Phong Vu opted into the Jayce versus Aatrox matchup, they're saying, look, we're going to take the skill matchup. That means as Xerath scales up as well, he's going to be in a spot where he has the option, the opportunity, the potential to outplay Wunder and shut that down.
And one of the nicest feeling in League of Legends is when you get to build the same items as someone else, but you just get to them sooner. You're both going for the Black Cleaver, you're both going to the Yomas, but every step of the way, Xerath is just grabbing it before Wunder is able to pick it up, and it just means that even from a psychological point of view, you're like, I always have more than what he is able to bring.
Oh, Hjärnan!
Now Hjärnan stunned up against the wall. I talked earlier about how you can't go near those walls against Poppy. Hjärnan's not getting himself out anytime soon, but now can they get their jungler out of it? Doesn't look like it. Meliodas is going to be dropped. It's 4 versus 4, but what else will spawn from this? Doesn't look like a whole lot of anything. Both sides disengage.
So ends up being 1-for-1, but PVB, they still have the pressure. You'll note that Xerath is headed immediately down towards the bot lane and will look to get the push, while the mid lane gets shoved in. So PVB will maintain vision control around the bot side of this jungle, and G2, they lose their AD carry once again.
Hjärnan not having a fantastic time around this time. It looks like he is maintaining pretty much even CS with his opponent. Very, very slight lead there as BigKoro picks himself up a single CS from the Krug camp, but the pressure continues from Phong Vũ Buffalo, not willing to hit the brakes. This is what you want to see from a team that builds up that early lead back to over 5K.
And I think their vision control has just been stellar. Look, the vision control is what generates this pick. Pallet knows that he isn't spotted out, goes for the flash tackle into the wall. They have enough damage to pick it up. However, teleport comes in and notice Naul is on the top side of the map. He has the ignite, can't join the fray, so it does just have to be a disengage after that.
They do get the teleport out from Aatrox though, and this is a TP advantage that PVB now have over G2. And arguably, did Wunder really need to join that fight? You can assume that he did it because they didn't have vision on Naul at the time. They weren't aware if this devolved into a big 5v5, but in the end, Summoner Split advantage game for PVB. They now have a 5k gold lead, and things are looking dire for G2.
Trying to make a play now onto that enemy support. Poppy uses steadfast presence to stop PerkZ there, slamming him back against the wall. The Phong Vũ Buffalo have to leave their support for dead, getting their jungler out of trouble, utilizing the Ragnarok and the CC immunity. Good pickup there for G2 to take the kill lead, but bottom side, Xerath is knocking down this.
So what G2 is trying to do is attack Phong Vu when they go for their setup. When that vision is being laid out around an objective, they are sacrificing side lane farm on Wunder right now to try and make these plays. They get the kill, they lose the turret. They only have a certain amount of those before they start losing base structures, so they need to make them work.
And G2 is going to have to play a strong vision game for themselves if they want to be able to collapse on Phong Vu like that. This is a team that has had solid vision performances throughout groups so far. They've been putting down plenty of wards, they've been sweeping plenty of wards, but that's going to need to step up to even the next level against this team that is just bouncing back and forth between the lanes constantly.
But this has been more of a catch pressure game. You compare a Freaker's 1-3-1, the ability to shove all the waves to ensure that farm is being limited. This has been much more of, let's invade the jungle, let's go for aggressive plays. Potentially Xerath's in trouble.
Xerath's already using the flash, trying to get away from PerkZ Akali. There's nobody around on Phong Vu to keep him safe, and it looks like that summoner spell is going to be all for naught. PerkZ just needs a little bit more to find him. Xerath tries to farm up a little bit at the end to make it work out, but it looks like it's going to be top laner for top laner. You kill ours, we'll kill yours. Pallet grabs the kill.
And again, PvP answer, but G2 can finally convert this into a tower and top lane control. We talked about how later into the game, as Xerath finds Akali in a side lane, this Akali will have kill pressure, and while it did take PerkZ a while, he still ends up going down. But again, you kind of keep looking at PvP, and every time you think they've made a mistake, they're turning it into something. This is the 4th Drake in the game, going into their back pocket. The goal lead is still in their favor.
And they got another Fire Drake. Let's take a look at how this one happens. They just collapse onto Wunder. Meliodas is already there as well. Wunder just rooted in place, can go nowhere. We'll get a revive, but it will be for naught as Naul grabbed the kill there, I believe, in the end. Oh, it was Pallet that took it.
Well, not the ideal, but...
bloodthirsty supports, we love them.
Final elemental Drake of the game, though. You said it, Spawn. It will be Infernal. It's already 2 Infernal, 2 Mountain to the side of Phong Vũ Buffalo, which means insane Baron taking power if they get a chance at it. You're going to see them setting up vision around that right now, but PerkZ, the man who's showing signs of life here for G2, so scary in that side lane. You saw what he was able to do up against Xerath. Xerath had no choice but to run for the hills. With Zhonya's Hourglass and that Gunblade completed, this Akali is scary.
And that could be crucial for G2 because he has kill pressure on both side laners right now. With Flash about to tick over to level 16 as well, he now becomes a winning portion of the map. That means that they can no longer just starve out all of these jungle camps. PerkZ needs to use his advantage to generate enough pressure. He needs to play an aggressive game to try and shut... Ooh, potentially?
Nal's checking the brush. Gonna be hit by the Ignite there, trying to get himself away. Paranoia coming in. Damage goes through with the stasis, gonna be keeping that mid laner alive for now. Jankos trying to get himself away. Flashes over the wall, gonna be immediately picked up there by Xerath. PerkZ could be in a lot of trouble now. Doesn't have the Shroud available, trying to get himself away. Kama spinning, but PVB winning the fight. They're still trying to catch up on this one. Shroud comes back down. PerkZ still gonna be looking to get himself around this one, trying to outplay, buying as much time as possible. The champion is so evasive, and BigKoro goes in to find himself killed. A beautiful stasis from PerkZ, and G2 have the outplay!
And G2 finally find a fight that goes in their favor, but what a huge mistake from Koro. He flashes in to try and get the kill onto PerkZ, and he puts himself within range of the big, angry Wunder. This guy just dives in, executes the AD carry, and with him gone, there's no hope of PVB.
And we were just speaking how PerkZ can be the win condition. He starts this off, gets out all of the damage. They continue through, and it looks like it's a disaster. You see where the rest of G2 have to collapse. You think to yourself, why are they just not pushing mid lane? No wave available means that isn't an option. They have to fight, and on the back of their mid laner, they are able to win it.
And I love how PerkZ uses the max range of his Q to apply as many slows as possible, but you can see how obnoxious he is in here at the very end, just dancing in and out of the Shroud, buying enough time, and then a stopwatch at the very end as well. Beautiful stuff from PerkZ, combined with a big mistake from BigKoro, result in a teamfight win for G2.
A massive amount of disrespect from Phong Vũ Buffalo towards the Shroud of Akali, and just how evasive it makes this champion. You've got to be ready for the amount of aggro drop that thing provides, and they weren't. They were punished for it, and this game is anybody's guess.
Ooh, but now PVB, they're just starting off the Baron. They're forcing G2 into another fight.
Saying, all right, it's time to go. Pallet's going to be knocking away one of the G2 members, turning this into his one side of a fight as they can. They're able to find themselves the Baron, but at what cost? G2 looking to move in, clean these guys up if they can. It's going to be Naul dropping now to Jankos, who's able to find himself that kill. Pallet falls to Hjärnan. PerkZ looking to get himself away from Xerath, but the fight has already been won by the side of G2 eSports. A double kill over the AD carry. PerkZ still trying to stay alive, not going to do it this time. Shock Blast finds its mark through the smoke, but Xerath will not escape. The Guardian Angel will do nothing but buy a couple of extra seconds, and although Baron goes the way of Phong Vũ, it only stays on the jungler.
And you get the Baron, but at what cost? Because at the end of the day, it is a 4-for-2 trade. Only the jungler remains alive with the buff, and you can see G2 now starting to believe, starting to get some kills onto their carry, and starting to scale into this game.
But this game has blown up. Remember, at 15 minutes in, it was 1-1 in kills. Now we're at 13-7. The gold's still in PVB's back pocket, but they just start this one off. They know that there's no vision near this pit, so they can't get a teleport in from Wunder. Jankos gets knocked away, he can't smite it, and then it's secured, but then the fight devolves into this.
Yeah, it certainly does, and Wunder just able to get into that pit afterwards. They're so busy worrying about PerkZ that their main damage threat still alive in Xerath is chasing him into the other side of the map. A little bit more blood-hungry action out of the VCS region means that they also give back a shutdown. That's what Double Mountain Drake will do for you, but not able to win out on the overall fight.
Now, when we look at the overall gold across the board, you can actually see that Hjärnan is leading. PerkZ is even with the mid laner, and the top lane is even as well. It's only the jungle difference that is this gold advantage for PvP, and we talked about it, Olaf in the late game. Will that gold difference really be enough to swing these fights in favor of PvP?
But I want to go back to it, Vedi, because there is still 2 of those Infernal Drakes. There are still 2 Mountain Drakes. If there is an error, there is only the base of G2 remaining, and we've seen teams like RNG just take one team fight and win the game. Certainly still on the cards for Phong Vũ.
30 seconds till that third and final Infernal Drake does spawn. You can see the Scuttle Crab maintaining some vision for that bottom part of the river for the side of Phong Vũ Buffalo. They're going to throw down some control wards here as well. One set up behind G2. Teleport available on Xerath, not on Wunder. Keep that one in mind. G2 just gonna fall back for now, yielding control over the area to the side of Phong Vu. Perk's not afraid of anything. He knows how safe he is in that Shroud, as Zeros is gonna be caught out, having to flash away now. G2 utilizing the ultimate there on the Aatrox, rooted up and shot down. Good damage coming out from BigKoro.
BigKoro just styles on Wunder there, gets the ultimate out. They're not done.
What? Not done yet. Perk's trying to make it happen, but he's slammed out of the Shroud, and that could be huge.
Oh,
There's the kill onto Naul and getting himself away, though. Shock Blast blocked up by Hjärnan. G2 trying to get the remaining members away. They've still managed to somehow find a kill. They're up 5-4. They're going for the Infernal Drake.
PerkZ is a monster as he drags G2 through what was a devastating early game. The Infernal Drake has now been started off. Meliodas, level 16, doesn't want to give it up.
But look at Zeros right now, doesn't want to fight. The fight starts.
Wadid into the back line. Wunder's trying to go in there without the ultimate. BigKoro's already going to be taken down. G2 maintains control of the area along with a gifted overkill from the side of Phong Vu.
Oh, Zeros!
Everything's
Look at Zeros!
coming up for the side of G2 right now, but Zeros is in the enemy base with the creep wave, trying to make sure he gets something onto this enemy tier 3 turret. It's going to be taken very low, but not taken down. Zeros trying to back away, but he's going to be stopped. He'll try to fight up against Wunder, even if he drops him. It's only a Guardian Angel that he'll be able to proc today. PerkZ goes right back in, finds some more damage, finds a killing spree, and finds that enemy mid lane.
And the decision-making out of Phong Vũ Buffalo is starting to deteriorate. They had already sent Zeros at that turret as they challenged for the Drake. They lose on both accounts. He doesn't kill the turret with the last auto attack. He still falls down, and G2 still have hope.
All right, boys, clean macro is out the window. Forget the 1-3-1, it's all the bloodthirsty team fights. And this is where Hjärnan will come up clutch. The late game Sivir, the area of effect damage that he is offering is a huge factor in why G2 is coming out the back of this, combined with PerkZ' fantastic play.
PerkZ on this Akali is certainly the reason that you have to look at for how this team has succeeded for the past 10 minutes. The Shroud dodges, the assassinations, the escapes. He is making it all happen for this team. 15 out of 16 kill participation. The man is playing out of his mind.
And you still have to just think, where was the clean setup? Where is the shove 2 lanes out, get control over a portion of the map, and set up your fights? Because they were so successful at it, but now the game has very much devolved.
It disappeared the moment PVB said, we can play your game better than you can. And G2 are the kind of team that hate to be disrespected. They look to fight, and now Pallet may be caught out.
Pallet taking so much damage from PerkZ, flashing away to keep himself alive. That's another summoner spell burned for free. No one can answer this Akali. And now bottom side, this even itemization between these two, it's what you were talking about earlier, Spawn. No more is this Zeros being like, oh yeah, I'm just you but better. It's I'm you but even. You have a sword, I've got a hammer. And right now, they're coming around with more guys trying to collapse onto Wunder here, seeing if maybe they can make some kind of a punish happen. Wunder goes into the ultimate to get himself away, and they'll just accept that.
Have to disengage there, but Baron is becoming up and available. They use multiple cooldowns in the bottom lane, and meanwhile, G2 able to clear out their waves, able to get in free shops. Look at the control wards. The Baron setup right now is going to be crucial. You feel like if Phong Vu gets one more, they may be able to close, but the longer this game goes, the more G2 are able to fight their way back into it.
Whew. What a great game this has been. G2 with the early deficit. Phong Vu demonstrating their early game prowess. And remember that these guys were 5 towers to 1 in the early game. They still have 4 Drakes, and this game is certainly not over, but it becomes a lot harder when you're up against a late game Sivir and a PerkZ that is on form.
And the game stakes are so high. G2 would sit top of the table at 3-1 if they win this. Phong Vu, if they get it, make the group all square with the head-to-head over G2. Europe would be in a tough spot at that time. However, the control is starting to re-emerge in the veterans game, and they're making Phong Vu come to them.
20 seconds on Baron. G2 has priority and control over the area. Phong Vu very, very afraid to walk too far towards this G2 squad right now. Once that smoke dissipates, they may have a chance, but it's on such a low cooldown at this point in time. PerkZ is so confident, not even being near anybody else on his team. He knows he can move around with safety and near impunity.
And now the waves are building. Now they have control over the area. They're waiting for the face check.
PerkZ top side, shoving out that wave. Rest of Phong Vu moving into their own jungle, which honestly doesn't feel that homely. bound? Doesn't feel that much like home right now with G2 setting up shop in there. Gonna have to hit up the dictionary after this one to figure out what the right word there is. But Phong Vu are in a spot where they played the early game just like last time against G2. They got ahead early. Jankos was not able to have any sort of a positive impact for his team, but now G2 has bounced back well. The game could go either way, but momentum, tempo, the past 15 minutes are all in the favor of G2, and they are looking to potentially close this game out if they get another one of those big fights. They're starting up the Baron.
PerkZ doesn't realize he's sitting on a ward. Naul is going for him.
Naul wants to go after this Akali, but Naul is not going to enjoy that fight too much longer. PerkZ still looking to chase after him, maybe finding assassination. Over the wall goes Zeros, looking to chase him down. Back in the smoke goes PerkZ, and he has already got himself the hell out of dodge. Now Palad's trying to find the knockaway, getting Wadid out of the fight. But Phong Vu has to disengage. Their mid laner is nearly dead.
So what gets used in that last fight? Flash for Zeros, nothing else on the side of Phong Vu rather than the ulti from Pallet. Meanwhile, PerkZ uses his Ignite. Hjärnan uses his ulti, and that's it. So just a couple of ultis traded. The fact that Zeros has lost his flash could hurt him in later fights, but the bigger deal right now is that G2 have the pushing bot. The Elder Drake is spawning soon, and the map is going to be there's going to be so much value across everywhere.
And that's what I was going to say. The fact that they delayed until the Elder Drake is up means that they can now maybe look to trade. It's not going well in their head-to-head. There's no Zhonya's Hourglass. Maybe you look for them to force on Baron. You trade for the Elder Dragon, and then you just try and run it down mid and force that team fight. Because the control from this game is gone. You can see that G2 are just starting to exert their will, trying to control the movements of Phong Vu. With the big 2 objectives up and available in 15 seconds, that is no longer going to be the case.
I'm glad you said the keyword big, because in the first time these two teams played, a little bit more history for you, it was BigKoro popping off on Xayah that was ultimately the one who did the most carrying that game. This game, he is 0-3-1. This Xayah has been practically invisible, and not in the way that Akali has been dashing around the fights, killing everybody, but rather in the way of he's actually in this game, because he's not had any sort of a meaningful impact.
And we've got to remember that a lot of this early game came off the back of Meliodas' jungle pressure and Naul and Zeros' early game laning, but unfortunately in these fights they have not been able to translate that into winning fights. But now, the Elder Drake is going to be secured by G2. The Baron has been started off. Will we see a steal attempt from Jankos? It looks like he's nowhere near.
Phong Vu know they have to go after the Baron right now because their opponents were already taking the Elder Drake. It's going to be Uber Buff traded for Uber Buff. Both sides disengaging, nobody dead just yet. PerkZ going to cut someone off in the enemy jungle, maybe find a straggler backing alone. Won't do it. But it is going to be mid lane priority maintained by G2, and they'll take the turret.
And I like the decision from G2, largely because they're confident that they can force a fight, assuming PVB tried to come and siege, but also you deny it from a 4-dragoned up team, and the second Elder Drake is so much scarier. So just getting that first Elder means that you have more win conditions later on into the game.
It certainly does. At the same time, they can now start to try and push into the base.
Yes.
Baron is such an important tool. So much of the counter siege has been Sivir's wave clear. With the big cannons there, she's going to have to throw the Q at it. It's not going to be as easy to clear out the waves. Really want Phong Vu right now to once again go on the offensive, look to aggress. They're waiting for their waves to stack up and they're trying to force an error.
Now, while the gold looks dead even, in the single champions, it is very different. Full build completed for Hjärnan. PerkZ is extremely far ahead of Naul, and Wunder is even with Zeros. So these fights are going to be very close.
If you thought PerkZ was obnoxious to kill before, he's got smoke and 2 stasises right now. Hourglass in the inventory. Keep your eyes on it if he's able to make the dive happen. Phong Vu back themselves away. G2 still looking to chase after it. It's going to be Sivir and Aatrox ults both expended on that one. Alistar as well. Phong Vu not using a whole lot in their arsenal. Might look to re-engage here, pushing down the bottom lane. They've got the Baron buff, they've got the minions. They know G2 spent something there, but they're not going to go any further.
They spent the 2 biggest ultimates, and remember, Baron buff still lasts longer than the Elder Drake buff, so they're just being patient, waiting for it. No Sivir ultimate, no flash available on the Alistar. And you can see that there's going to be about a minute different for them to still play with the Baron.
It certainly is, Spawn. PVB, they disengage pretty safely. It doesn't cost them very many summoner spells either. And you can see how tense this game has become. We were expecting a 1-3-1. We were expecting that whoever gets that early lead in the 1-3-1 will be able to close this game out. But we're now in the late game. Everyone is at that late game point. Individual members will be crucial in finding the victory for their respective teams. And we look at players like PerkZ, we look at players like Zeros, who will be the big hero for their team and secure them a win.
Who will be the big hero and who could be the opposite? One mistake could cost your team the entire 40 minutes of gameplay so far. Hjärnan doing a good job there, blocking that empowered shock blast with the spell shield. But it's Phong Vũ Buffalo running it down mid, trying to take down that tier 3 turret. Wadid's off to the side in case they go a little bit too deep, wants to be able to make the flank. Over the wall he may go, goes for the channel, decides to not go all the way with that Hex Splash.
I saw it, but he decided, you know what, Wunder's taken too much damage, it's not worth the risk. PVB, they're actually just choosing to disengage here. Even with 30 seconds left on the Baron, that means that that's going to disappear. The Elder spawns, I believe the respawn time is 10 minutes, so it will be after the next Baron. But still, the fact that PVB could have continued that push and chose not to, perhaps a big mistake.
Certainly does. I mean, you have LeBlanc, she can distort forward, auto attack onto the turret with this much AP going to be meaningful. Rapid fire cannon. That turret is about 2 auto attacks from going down, but they just don't have the confidence to pull the trigger on the play. The indecision is starting to creep into their game. And you can see G2 just content to continue to scale up. They still have an item on their mid laner, and the longer this game goes, the further that gold gap for Jankos is starting to close. He's starting to get some items a little bit further from relevant than you would want him to be still.
Yeah, he's still 3 items. Everybody's full build.
Yikes, that's not what you want to see. But to be fair, the enemy Olaf only a BF sword advantage. At the same time, though, you'll notice PerkZ sitting with a stopwatch and the Zhonya's Hourglass in his inventory.
Double stasis plus smoke. This is, you can smoke.
And a Banshees.
Smoke, stasis, lol second stasis, second smoke. It's pretty much that. Very, very hard to kill this guy unless you get some form of a perfect CC chain. But Phong Vũ Buffalo hasn't been able to do that so far. Even in the one fight that we saw around the red side blue buff, where he was slammed out of the smoke into the wall by Pallet, it wasn't enough. And G2 are going to maintain map control for now. PerkZ grabbing a little bit of damage onto Pallet there. Does lose the Banshee fail to the feathers.
As full builds become a little bit more relevant, want to see Hjärnan go back and sell his Stormrazor. He's sitting over 100% crit already, so not all that relevant. And some lifesteal in what is going to be a big, scrappy brawl could come up trumps here. Also interested to see who makes the big call of selling boots first. 500 CS civil win conditions have been fun in the past as you continue to build those, build that AD. At the same time, GA for BigKoro is a big question mark for me. How relevant is it going to be when a couple of assassins jump on you and no one is a real tank on your lineup?
G2 continuing to push here into the top side. Minion wave going to be cleared out as Zeros rotates back towards the mid lane. G2 trying to play this one slow and steady. Put a couple hits into the turret, back away. Then put the aggro onto the other side as soon as the rotation comes in. PerkZ backing himself out along with Wunder.
Now, there is a big minion wave down bot. G2 gonna disengage. Note how a lot of this play was not really to secure one of the first inhibitor towers. It was mainly to maintain vision control around the top side of the enemy jungle, because the Baron is spawning in about a minute's time. And the fact that G2 have control, can go back to base, reset their vision, and then move into the enemy jungle again, means that they will have so much more control over this objective.
And Hjärnan just sold boots. I didn't quite catch what he picked up instead. He goes back, he actually changes these boots. He goes back and grabs Ninja Tabbies, but still has himself the Stormrazor, so obviously not enough gold to be able to trade that out. As you can see, only 700 sitting in the back pocket right now. And this game, you can see double stasis now picked up on the side of the Nocturne. Jankos going to look to dive and pressure the back line. Been traded out for PerkZ, who's gone an Oblivion Orb instead.
Oblivion Orb for extra spell pen, for extra deletion power against that back line from the side of Phong Vũ Buffalo. But the pressure continues from G2. Nobody's committing to anything, though.
And when it's this late into the game, comps, they're both damage dealers. That starts to be a little less different. Items, you know, they're great, but everyone's just hitting real hard. That doesn't really matter all that much at this point. It's going to come down to the execution, and RNG already showed us yesterday that comps be damned. If you just take that one fight, you can still win. So interested to see who is confident enough to pull that thirst trigger.
All right, Baron's alive. Elder Drake's going to be alive in 1 minute from now. Buffs up again. Remember, if G2 get it, they're going to have that super extended buff duration.
And look at the state of the minion waves. Top is pushing in G2 against G2, but they're quicker to move up towards it and clear that out, whereas the bot lane is actually pushing in favor of G2. So in terms of the map control and where the pressure is going, G2 have it. They also get priority in the middle lane, and that's why PVB forced to send multiple members here to at the very least gain a bit of control back over the map.
They go. Comes your attack. It's going to be G2 looking to go in. Paranoia comes out. Wadid on the front line, going to be soaking up all the damage. But Naul's able to grab the kill onto him. PerkZ out into the fight now, into the back line, making his job happen with that smoke. Can it get anybody out? Wunder's able to find the killing spree onto that enemy support. Saros goes into the Guardian Angel. Resurrection comes up, and he's got 4 dudes just waiting to beat him right back down into the ground. And Hjärnan takes the kill.
And it was a close fight, but G2 come out on top. Pallet is dead, Zeros is dead, and the Baron is alive. But look at the pings on the Elder Drake.
Yeah, you can see that they're committing every member towards that Baron, so instead it's going to be Phong Vũ trying to trade. It was only a 2-for-1, not a decisive fight for either team. Can G2 get to the Elder Drake in time?
PerkZ is already setting off from the Baron pit, going towards that Elder Drake pit, wanting to stop this. It is taken by the side of PVB.
Look at the TP, though.
Critically, G2 wants to stop them here, see if maybe they can find some kind of a punish
He's
for
fast.
them. Wunder's moving in, and that man is faster than a bat out of hell. And Koro is going to be sent there on an express ticket. Resurrection coming out for 2 different players, but it's one that's going to be dropping immediately thereafter. Guardian Angel down, 80 carry down for 60 seconds.
And all of a sudden, G2 have the map where they want it. Meliodas didn't show up. He's going to fall as well, maybe.
Meliodas does lose the Guardian Angel proc there. They say Wrath is a deadly sin. Vedius, how about greed? Phong Vũ Buffalo lose their jungler, and now can they hold on any longer? It's G2 looking to make the dive happen. Pallet's the target next. PerkZ wants to find him. Wadid's got the credit. Saros can't stand any longer, and PerkZ goes unstoppable.
And finally, G2 gets sick of the game. They say, we're going to end it. We're going aggressive. They win the team fight, and they continue to push into the base.
This should be the last push for G2. They'll even up the score against Phong Vũ Buffalo. They'll take sole possession of first place in the group. They're trying to end it now, and Phong Vũ Buffalo will have nothing left to say. 47 minutes in, G2 take the win.
Look at the faces of relief on the side of G2 as they fought back hard against what was a massive early deficit. Phong Vũ Buffalo were in full control of the early game, but PerkZ 11-11. There were 23 kills in this game, and he was involved in 22 of them. The mid laner stepped up.
He did so much. You replace that Akali performance with anything else, this team seems to fall apart to me in the mid game. He absolutely brought them back from the brink.
At the same time, you still have to applaud Wunder in those team fights, but really it was the early game. I think that a lot of credit goes to Phong Vũ. Meliodas able to control Jankos. Once again, maybe opening up win conditions as this day progresses. G2, they got the win. That is what they needed for the top spot, but a lot to look back on of what went wrong as well.
We've got our analysts ready to break down that G2 win. Take it away, Dash.
Thank you very much, Captain Flowers. A very intriguing game here between these two squads because it went so late while starting in such dominant fashion for Phong Vũ Buffalo.
G2 fans clenching a little bit, worried, but they actually...
I had left the building. 10 minutes in, I was like, nah, this is it.
But they bring it back, right? And we'll get to how they bring it back in just a moment. Before we do that, I want to take a look at the Champions Select because Vedius himself said it. If you were a G2 fan watching the way this draft plays out, you're going, we got the Aatrox, we got the Akali, we're getting everything we want, we're getting excited.
It's comfort.
But Phong Vũ Buffalo did some really interesting stuff here in response.
Yeah, the thing about comfort is people also know what you like. And so Phong Vũ Buffalo gave them everything they wanted while getting counter picks for themselves that they felt comfortable in. And you basically had a match of 2 different styles where both people are, same styles I should say, of 2 people playing 1-3-1 with junglers that are going to be very aggressive.
Yeah, jungler's aggressive, but also I love the Jayce. We finally, get it against an Aatrox, so you have push from top side. LeBlanc coming in against Akali as well, so that push in mid. And then you combine that with the stronger jungler you just mentioned, you actually had the entire top side constantly pressuring G2. And that's the thing. This G2 lineup, when they fall behind normally and they have a 1-3-1 draft, they just lose really hard. And it looked that way for most of the game after a great early start from PVB.
All right, things went from bad to worse for a large portion of this match.
And I want to compliment this Olaf jungle path, starting the enemy blue, also taking Gromp, and then he just continued to go. He's shown on Scuttle here with blue, so that should kind of tip Jankos off to what's happening. But because they don't actually have much pressure or push in solo lanes, he doesn't feel comfortable doing a map split and invading the enemy blue.
Yeah, because also if you look at the bot lane on the minimap, you can just see it above the little graphic. The bot lane from PvP is also pushing. So if he goes to enemy blue buff, he might just get collapsed on by a Poppy or a Xayah, and he can actually die right there, and he's only cost the team even more.
Yeah, while he's here at level 5, Jankos is stuck at level 3, so by the time Jankos is level 4 and goes in to move for Raptors, Meliodas can just take it from him. So this is one of the big reasons we didn't see a close game for the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, they were able to snowball that jungle advantage into a 40 CS lead there, about 10 CS lead in every lane, and then they started taking turrets first as well. So they were up about 4,000 or 5,000 gold as they start getting into the mid-game portion here.
It's actually rare we sit here and say, we think the losing team did everything correct in the early game and in the draft. We're so often looking and go like, no, this pick was bad or this, but in this situation, with all the pushing lanes and the Olaf, they had every tool to run G2 over.
So we're left with the question of where and how did it turn in favor of G2? And I think the answer is our MasterCard player of the game, G2's Perks.
You guessed it right. It's G2 Perks. You didn't set it up.
I'm so sorry. I could have done that so much better.
He outplayed in so many individual situations. He had a little bit of gold and from the first blood that he dove top, but like, there were some misplays on PVB's sides, but most of it, I think, was Perks putting himself in some pretty ridiculous situations to get out.
And this is the thing, I mean, Deficio was saying, you know, sometimes it's just about having the best player on the Rift. You don't use your big old EU brain to make the comeback. This was Perks just being the best player in this game by far. And his use of the Akali Shroud with the E mechanic to be able to go back to a Shroud, to clear wards, to chase people, to get out after chasing, was the best I've seen out of any Akali players.
I think it was the best Akali performance we've ever seen. If you consider also how far down this team was actually in the situation when he started carrying, he had 1 kill when this all started. Then he picks off people left and right, dances in and out. And yes, again, PVB, in a lot of situations, they could have done so much more. When you start getting picked off the first time, you could just start grouping and sieging with your Jayce. They didn't do that. They kept kind of splitting up left and right. But very few players would be able to do what PerkZ did here.
Even still, the win didn't come easily. It took them a while to close out the game, but they fought tooth and nail to get it. And now what I want to talk about is group implications here in Group A. Let's get a reminder of the standings, the way the teams are resting right now in this group. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, we can just pause.
No, I think there's 2 more games they have to play to
4-game group stage, just like playing, right? G2 moves on as the #1 seed. I think G2 is in a great situation, and all eyes should be put on the Flash Wolves game for them, because if they win that Flash Wolves game, worst case, they'd be playing a tiebreaker against Africa for first place in the group. 4 wins will get them through. And it also makes me much less confident for Phong Vũ Buffalo, because they were in a position where I think they could have won this game, and the fact that they couldn't close it out and the fact that they already have 3 losses puts them in an incredibly tough spot.
Yeah, that G2 Flash Wolves match is up next. But I also want to talk about the implications of this game in the way that teams now approach, say, G2. And in concert with Game 1, approach Flash Wolves in Africa, because we have a little bit more evidence for these teams the way they're coming into the second round robin.
I actually think you don't do anything different against G2 because PVB, they were winning. They had a great setup. So you can literally copy the same thing. I think if you're Flash Wolves going against G2 now, you're going to be on blue side. You know G2 will play 1-3-1, and that's what you try and draft around.
So then what about for the side of G2? Should they go into this next game kind of assuming that Flash Wolves just had the blueprint laid out for them? Should G2 make, like, preemptive substitutions in terms of their picks or strategy?
I think you might be worried about Africa copying Phong Vũ, but I don't think Flash Wolves have the players to copy this. Like, I don't want... if I was G2, I would want Hanabi to try and play a skill matchup into Wunder. I dare you to try that. Like, I don't think that Flash Wolves is competent enough to pull off the same strategy in terms of individual laning against G2. And so I think that matchup is still probably favored, even if, you got exposed for what you're going to do. Everyone already knew what G2 was going to do, and we keep saying, just stick to it. Like, they didn't beat it. Yeah. It was scary, but they didn't beat you.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the support pool is one of the most important things to look for in the draft phase. where does Tahm Kench go? Where does Alistar go? Because that's one of Wadid's best champions for protection as well as late game initiation, and likewise for Sword Art. And Flash Wolves hasn't shown us anything. We're going to get this in the intro. That shows that they can win without being able to engage on bottom lane. So a lot of it has actually been on Hjärnan and Wadid not taking losses in the bottom lane. That's another reason they're able to come back late in this game. You hit 500 CS Sivir and just auto-attacked in the last team fight.
Well, we'll talk more on the other side of the break. For now, though, Riot Games' first global sponsor, MasterCard, celebrated the fans who came out today by hooking them up with some upgraded experiences. Earlier, Pei Wen and Beanie from Taiwan, alongside Nick and Rachel from St. Paul, Minnesota, all earned Fan of the Day, so they can cheer on today's teams from the best seats in the house. We've got more action coming up as the Flash Wolves and G2 step on stage for our next game. You don't want to miss it.